So hopefully, there we go. All right, so welcome. So this is a topic that I'm really excited about. I've been involved with coaching for a long, long time, and quite, what's the right word, intensely for about 20 years. And I've been involved with AI stuff even longer than that, but not quite as intensely throughout that period. And I'm pretty excited to talk about how we can leverage AI to enhance the human aspect of the coaching experience. Um, so for this webinar, just a couple quick ground rules. Number one, ask questions anytime. This is live, it's real life, and I always prefer it that way. The recording will be available afterwards. So also try not to share any confidential information either, because other people may actually access the recording. Oops, you know what? Glitches. This is the problem that I have with my mouse. Let's do that again. Okay, there we go. All right. So today, what we're going to do, just some extremely brief introductions and then our agenda. I've got an extra bit in here that I'm throwing in because I think it's so valuable about this idea of thinking. Um, so about me, I have this technical background, but I've always been interested in the people side of things, including from very young age being interested in AI and in training and coaching, literally from elementary school for both of those things. And so this is something that it's been a thread through my life for literally 40 plus years. I'm 52, almost 53. And this is something that I feel like we've kind of come to this amazing convergence with generative AI situations, systems to be able to take, on one hand, all the things that we have about how humans develop and all the things that we have about the capabilities of computers and really merge them into something pretty incredible. So one aspect of that is the platform that I've been building, maxgood.work. And, I'm going to show off a little bit of that, but I'm not, this is not, like a pure sales thing or anything like that. I'm also going to do some stuff with ChatGPT and talk about some stuff about how you can leverage these generative AI tools in general. But maxgood.work is my platform. It is an AI powered platform for coaches, and we'll talk about that a little bit later. So first of all, I just want to mention some things about coaching industry trends. And, when people think about coaching, they might have different ideas in mind. So it's important to recognize that there are actually quite a few different styles of coaching. And, when you think of the word coaching, you may think in terms of mentorship, where you have, a leader who's an expert giving you advice as you go through your day-to-day work. You might think of a sports coach who's really watching, quote unquote, the game, whatever game it is you're playing, and giving feedback afterwards. You might think about life or professional coaching, which is more about, unlocking the hidden capabilities that you have within you. And, there's all these different styles. But what's happening is that actually the coaching industry is getting quite crowded. So always in the past, managers and leaders in organizations had to do some form of coaching with the people that reported to them or the teams that reported to them. But the idea of professional coaches became quite popular as we saw it succeed in sports and then move into business and other aspects of life. But now we have so many people joining the market that it's actually quite crowded. And there's, you you throw a stick and you hit a coach. It's really, really very popular out there. There are some professional associations that set standards, but not everyone agrees with those things. And there's a lot of non-professional coaches joining the market as the patterns of coaching are documented and systematized to some degree. That's legitimate, right? Like, oh, there's this thing called GROW, GROW, that a lot of coaches use. And you can actually instruct someone on how to use that coaching pattern. And even if they're not a professional coach, actually be fairly effective in a coaching interaction. So, and then the other side of this is that coaching is often blurred with training, consulting, facilitation, and even therapy. My brother, who's just turning 50, is changing careers. He's going in to be a counselor. And we have these long, in-depth conversations. And there's like 99% overlap between what I think of as coaching and what he calls therapy. The main difference being therapists can, to some degree, give diagnoses, whereas coaches don't tend to do that, right? So then on top of that, we have the people out there who are doing coaching recognizing that, you know, with these industry trends, that generative AI tools like ChatGPT or Claude or, you know, whatever, these tools can actually support the work that you're doing in coaching. Maybe not, you know, everyone feels comfortable with this, because actually there's a little study that shows that about 54% of coaches in this particular survey were worried that AI would replace them completely as coaches. And, you know, that's actually how I got started with Max Good. I was using the predecessor of ChatGPT, and I was like, holy shit, I'm out of a job as a coach. So I don't think that's true anymore completely, but I do think that there's a lot of legitimacy to the fear if you're just like one of those people that just follows the patterns and doesn't really incorporate a deeper human aspect to it. So one of the biggest questions about these tools, though, is can you trust them? And there's both like trust in terms of factual trust, but there's also, like, if you're working with people, can you trust an AI tool to really represent you as a coach if you're trying to incorporate them into your coaching dynamic? Excuse me. So, okay, just for what it's worth, we have a little bit of a document to share with you that has like a whole bunch of stuff about coaching trends. And I'm going to put that in the Zoom chat kind of near the end. I've got a few documents that I'm going to be sharing with you, PDFs, just as a thank you for actually being here. These will not be shared outside. Some of them are more informational, some of them are more in-depth. But one of them is just to give you a whole bunch of references and resources about the coaching industry in general. So the next thing I want to mention is that I actually have two businesses. So I have maxgood.work, but I also have a consulting, training, and coaching company called Vertigue. That's my last name. And that's, you know, something I've been in business with for 20 years. And I just wanted to share kind of a little story about how my understanding of using AI in my coaching has evolved. So at first I was worried that it would kind of replace me completely. And because, you know, really quite literally, I would say that 90% of my time as a consultant, trainer, and coach was just answering questions that I had answered dozens or hundreds of times before. And I was like, you know, there's these patterns to how people struggle with learning the things that I'm trying to get them to adopt. And those patterns are so pervasive. Surely these AI tools will be able to just take over and do all of that stuff. But as it turns out, there's still the trust problem, and that's on both sides. Like my clients and I don't really completely trust a bare bones or even a custom GPT version of ChatGPT, right? That you can configure these things to some degree. You can help guide the results, but there's a fundamental lack of certain types of guardrails on these tools. So in my consulting, coaching, and training business, one of the things that's been really incredible for me is that over the last 10 months exactly, starting back in the beginning of this calendar year, I started including Max Good and other AI stuff in my proposals. In my proposals to do training, coaching, consulting, and also in some of my marketing material. And the result of that has been that I can directly attribute, because I've asked, in competitive bid situations, that over $100,000 of business is directly attributed to the fact that I was able to effectively combine these generative AI tools into these engagements. And there's a couple different ways that that's happened. One is basically to in my training, for example, and whether it's my open enrollment training or my private training engagements, to give people the opportunity to use these AI tools as part of their learning process. And so rather than me, for example, answering all their questions, I give them access or set them up with an AI tool. And by the way, I do include ChatGPT, bare bones, as well as my platform in that process, because I know not everyone wants to use the platform. And it's built into the way I deliver training and coaching as I go through, the day or 2 days or whatever it is of a training program. And so right now I have about 130 individual subscribers using my Max Good platform as part of that kind of approach. Then I also have corporate subscribers who basically, what I've been able to do is configure them with a customized version of my tools that is uniquely set up for them as an organization, whether it's a department or a team or the whole thing, and that they use that ongoing outside of my, touch time with them, whether that's, a one-on-one coaching session or, a group session like a lunch and learn or something like that. They have access to these tools outside of that time on an ongoing basis, and it's configured in a way that really supports them. And this has been through dozens of different individuals, obviously, but also several major engagements where this has been the differentiator, where they say, you know what, this is actually why we chose you. So I'm not sure how many of you are sort of independently in business or doing that sort of thing, but I wanted to mention that this is really powerful if you're a coach, or for that matter, a trainer or a consultant or otherwise, as a way of setting yourself apart and saying, you know what, I'm really embracing these tools. I can even see a role if you're internal in an organization where you can say, hey, you know what, I'm actually helping my team or my staff more effectively by using these tools, and that's why we've got better performance, right? And so that's really what it boils down to, is that a lot of these things are about how do you help create a better performing set of people, teams, departments, and so forth. So one of the things I'm assuming is that you've all used these tools to some degree, and you don't need me to do a basic demo. I will do some more sophisticated demos a little later. When I was preparing for this, though, I realized that, when I'm consulting, or even when I'm just doing like a short 90-minute conference presentation, one of the things that keeps coming up over and over and over again is people kind of concerned, well, if these AI tools are doing so much, how do I differentiate myself as a human being? Like, why wouldn't they just, completely switch over to using ChatGPT to learn about agile or marketing or HR or whatever, right? Process improvement. And the thing that I've really discovered that resonates with a lot of people is this idea that these tools still don't actually think. And whatever you believe about how human brains work and whether there's like some special thing about humans or not, like when we use these tools, we actually still have to think a lot about how to use them in order to use them effectively. And there's really three things that I think are absolutely crucial keys that humans can do that these generative AI tools still don't do that I know of. Okay. So number one is systems thinking. This is the ability to really see beyond the immediate context and to think about the systems that are surrounding the situation that you're in, systems that are overlapping the situation you're in, and even the systems that are contained within your situation. And that includes things like, feedback loops and feedback systems, homeostasis, hysteresis, Nash equilibriums. I mean, I'm going to do a laundry list here because actually this is one of the big documents that I'm going to share with you. I've got a big write-up on these three thinking keys that you can use as a reference. Then the second thing, some of you may have heard of slow thinking as opposed to fast thinking. This is really just a simple way of saying, let's think in a way that helps us avoid cognitive biases. Things like confirmation bias or recency bias. What's really fascinating is that because these generative AI tools are trained on all the stuff out there that humans have produced, they actually also suffer from these biases and some new ones too, because essentially they're just statistical models. And so humans have the ability to step back and observe their own thinking and to be sort of in this weird way, which we still don't really know how to explain, to be conscious of our own consciousness. And that when we can do that, when we can slow down our thinking and become aware of what's going on internally with our biases, our emotional state, our thinking processes, then we can improve the way we think. And one of the best tools for doing that is the third key, which is actually taking thinking time to do this, to sit back, isolate yourself from any distractions, usually for 45 minutes to an hour, and just think deeply on an issue, a topic, or a powerful question that really is important for you. And the reason I say this is because if you're coaching people and you're just showing up in the moment and you're not going away and really thinking deeply about whatever's going on with the people that you're coaching, actually, you aren't really better than one of these, generative AI systems. You're just reacting in the moment. Yeah, maybe a little better, but, you have your own biases and limits. And so if you're just there in the moment only, you're likely going to be suffering and limited by those, the lack of insight into the systems around you, or the cognitive biases. And so practicing thinking time, whether that's weekly or after you have every coaching interaction or whatever it is, practicing thinking time is extremely powerful. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually just take a moment to share these two documents in the chat, if I can find the window. Gee whiz, what is going on with my... Oh, there it is. Okay. Okay. So what I want to do is I want to share these documents with you because I really believe that this is something that's extremely powerful. So let's send that off. So This is, you should see that in the Zoom chat. There's a document called 3 Keys Thinking, which goes over a lot of the details of what I'm talking about here, and even has a good collection of prompts that you can use in ChatGPT or any other generative AI system that will really help you with these thinking skills. One of my favorites is actually, being able to ask ChatGPT to help you overcome your own cognitive biases in a situation. And it's kind of mind-blowing. I practiced that a few times, and it's like, gee whiz, am I ever like it's just, anyway, I can't even explain how amazing it is to use ChatGPT to help you overcome your own cognitive biases. So that's why I brought this in. I think that as a coach, as a leader, really understanding how to differentiate yourself versus these generative AI tools is so essential. There's other aspects too, but that's one of the most powerful. Okay, let's do some demonstrations. And actually, I'm going to pause just before I do that, just to ask about if there's any questions, thoughts, or comments so far. I can just talk and talk and talk, and I like to make a little space for some questions. And if there are none, that's okay too. All right. So hopefully you got that download and keep that handy. Now, I was talking the other day, Saturday night actually, to this guy who's a financial advisor by trade, but now he's like this, business startup guru kind of person. And, I was telling him about Max Good. And he asked me this really important question. How is this different than, anything else that's out there in terms of generative AI systems, like even just ChatGPT and the various versions of that you can access? And I said, really, it all boils down to trust. And if you are a coach and you want to support your people, then of course, ChatGPT, Gemini, Claude, all of these tools can be really powerful tools to help you support your clients. And I'll give you a really simple example of this. So let's see, where is it here? You can create a custom GPT that is organized to help support your people with whatever it is that you want to support them with. So here's a thinking time coach, and it's a published custom GPT on ChatGPT. If you feel like you want to access it, I've put the link in the Zoom chat there. But that thinking time coach, it's going to be good, but there's going to be some ways that we should be cautious and maybe not trust it. Okay, so first of all, it's really hard to set up the guardrails that make it really like totally on topic and unwilling to, speculate and to do things that you wouldn't necessarily do, right? So if I talk about thinking time, live demos, they don't always work perfectly, right? But you can start with the little prompt here: help me structure 45 minutes of thinking time. And it's going to do a pretty good job because I've told it what to do. I've uploaded the 3 Keys Thinking document to it, so it can do a pretty good job of telling you how to do this. And okay, there you go. It's got some good stuff. But here's the problem. What if your custom GPT gives your client some, let's call it just off advice, right? It's off target, maybe it's literally wrong, whatever the case may be. One of the problems that you have as a coach, if you're getting your clients to use this, is how do you know? How do you know if it's given you some bad advice, right? So I'm not going to scan this. I don't know for sure. It looks reasonable. Scanning this very quickly, this seems like it's given us some good advice. Okay, great, because it's going to do that a lot of the time. That's what scared me when I first saw these tools. I was like, oh crap, it's going to just totally replace me. But if you've used ChatGPT for any amount of time, you know that it sometimes gets a little weird. So, if you take this same question and you use it in Gemini or Claude, you're going to get potentially different answers, etc. So you can use these tools, and one of the most powerful ways to do this, if you want to do something that's going to be pretty good, is you actually create a custom GPT. Okay, so you go here. Am I signed in to the right one? Hold on. Let me just check. Yeah, I am. Okay. So you click on Explore GPTs. I think you need a paid account for this, but you click on the Create button in the top right, and it guides you through and allows you to create a custom GPT that you can then go out and provide the link, just like I did in the Zoom chat here, to anyone that you're working with. And there's a bunch of things that you can do. So, it conversationally helps you create let's call it the behavior or personality. And you can do some things to configure it, including uploading files that are sort of the foundational information. And then, once you click create, you can then share the link with whoever you want. Okay, but trust. Okay, how do you trust it? How do you know for sure that it's going to bring the knowledge that you want to the forefront? How do you know that it's going to exclude things that you don't want included? Right? Like, okay, so I'm just going to stop sharing for a moment here because I just really want to emphasize this. Like, among other things, I'm a certified Scrum trainer, and I have a little bit of a pedantic streak to me. I really like definitions. And if someone asks me a question about Scrum, I'm going to start with whatever I know about the definition of Scrum, and I'm going to be respectful to that definition. And then I might say, oh, and here's some variations in other situations. But I'm always going to start with the official true definition, because I think that's out of respect, basically. But actually, what if you hate Scrum? And as a coach, you never want your coachees to explore Scrum. And there might be some very good reasons, like the organization you're working in, for example, Scrum would be completely inappropriate or whatever. It doesn't matter. And you can substitute anything for Scrum. You can substitute in a financial practice, an HR practice, doesn't matter, right? In ChatGPT, there's not really any way to very clearly exclude certain bodies of knowledge. It's just trained on everything. And so if I provide, this thinking time thing and I don't want Scrum, and someone asks about thinking time with Scrum, it's going to give me an answer because I'm not able to put those guardrails. Another thing is that I'm not able to see what the interactions are that it's actually having with my clients. And that's one of the things that, I felt was really important, because if I'm a coach or a trainer or a consultant or whatever, and I'm going to put these Gen AI tools out there for my clients to use, I really need to be able to know that it's doing a good job, right? Like I've got confidentiality with my clients, and they expect me to kind of remember, like if 2 weeks ago we talked about X, Y, and Z, and then suddenly I act like I've never heard that before, it would be weird, right? Or going the other direction, if they ask some questions about a custom GPT and they get some amazing answers, really they don't want to have to take the extra time to tell me all about it, especially if they're paying by the hour, right? So we need a way to create continuity between what's happening in these AI tools and in real life. Not only that, but we need to be able to customize these things in such a way that we as coaches have some control over what's relevant. So I'll give an example. Let's say, Derek, since you've got your video on, I'll pick you. Let's say, we're doing some coaching together. I'm coaching you, and you start to talk in a relevant way about all the fitness equipment that you have and that you care about, right? I don't know why I'm just making this up because I see it in your background there. So if you then go to my, custom GPT, and it doesn't know that you and or your family are really into fitness stuff, and you start talking about, you're going to have to re-explain that. It's going to be frustrating. Whereas what I can do with Max Good, and this is the thing that's really important, is that I can actually go in to the system and say, hey, I just learned that Derek has these really cool things in his life around fitness. He's got this equipment that he's invested in. He does things right, whatever I've learned, right? And here's how it's relevant to the coaching that we're doing, right? All of a sudden, the AI tool is going to have that awareness, and it's going to be a better coach as well. Okay, so I've kind of, this happens to me sometimes. I have ADHD, so I sometimes lose the plot a little bit. Okay, so let me share my screen again. Okay, so that's this contextualization. So, in ChatGPT, you can tell ChatGPT a little bit about yourself. If you have an account, it'll remember things about you. And that's the user-controlled side of hyper-contextualization. So you're using like that thinking time coach that I just created. It'll learn a little bit about you. Okay, so fair enough, that's good. With expertise, you can upload a little bit of content yourself as a user of ChatGPT. I'm calling these things avatars, right? These are avatars of the coach. So that thinking time coach is an avatar of me that's focused on thinking time. And maybe I'm overusing the word a little bit, but the point is that I want to also be able to control that avatar so that it knows about you, knows about me, and that meshing is really powerful. And then what about, making sure that the content in the background of the system that it's using, like the training data, is really good quality content. And so, with ChatGPT and Claude and Gemini, we know that it's pretty good. We know, for example, if you pay attention, that they have licensed a number of different publishers, libraries, news sources, etc., that are reputable, but they're still trained on the internet, which is not reliable. And then, like I was talking about, the continuity between your real life interactions as a coach and the interactions with the AI tool. So what I want to do is now just very quickly also show a little bit of how this tool works. And I'm going to do it with two sides. So one side is the side of me as a coach, which is what I'm showing you right now. And so as a coach, how does this tool support you? How does it do kind of the same things that you do with a custom GPT, but even better? I'm only going to spend a few minutes on this, but I do want to just show what's possible when you have a purpose-built platform like this. So first off, we go to this admin page where we do all the configuration around users, our personality, stuff like that. It's like what you do with creating a custom GPT, but way more sophisticated. So for example, I've got a whole bunch of different users, and you can set up a whole bunch of customized information about each user of your avatar. And this information is taken into account when the user interacts. Okay. I don't know if I have anything here. Yeah, okay. So you can give it background information. Michigan is really nice. He likes bicycles, mathematics, and food, right? And so when this person, a pseudonym for me, obviously, interacts with my avatar, there might be situations, and I've seen this many times, where the cycling part becomes a metaphor as part of the coaching response, or something about math or food or whatever, right? So you can, not only does the user set their own context, just like in ChatGPT, but you as the coach can set the context. And in here, you can do background, like, I talked with Michigan about, I don't know, road racing, and he mentioned that he particularly likes time trial races. Whoops, which I do. And you save that, and now all of a sudden you've got this continuity between real life and the system. And if you do coaching over one of these tools like Zoom or whatever that has the ability to do summarized notes of a conversation, again, you can just copy and paste that into the system, and all of a sudden, boom, you've got context, and that context can grow, and it's very, very powerful. So save that as an example. Actually, what I should do is I should use the other account. Anyway, it doesn't matter. Point is that this context hyper contextualizes and allows us to create that continuity. Then we can also view the individual's interactions with the avatar, right? And what that does is that gives us the ability to really explore and make sure that when our clients are using this tool, it's getting good advice, they're getting good advice, and it's really tuned up with how we would represent ourselves. This is extremely powerful as well. I've got a lot of stuff in here, so I'm not going to go over it in any detail, but this is, I use my own avatar all the time because I like it way better than ChatGPT. It gives me way better advice. So just very quickly, just like with a custom GPT, we can load in our own documents, but we have a lot more control here about how they're used. So we can add various titles, we can manage the contents, we can edit the contents on the platform itself, we can see the usage, and by the way, when we look at this, like, you can even see the specifics. So this is in the conversation, how the content was used, what content was chosen to inform the conversation. So it's really a powerful way of managing the expertise. It's not just upload a bunch of files and trust that ChatGPT is going to use them well. It's like, okay, let's actually control this. And if you want, you can say, you know what? There's a new Scrum guide. I'm going to turn that off, and I'm going to upload something new, right? That's a very simple, basic way of doing it. One of the things that I like to do is every once in a while, I write something really awesome on LinkedIn, Actually, there's only one thing so far. But anyway, my intention is that whenever I write something on LinkedIn that's really awesome, I'm going to upload it into my avatar as well, so that my avatar becomes even more and more attuned to my expertise. There's a whole bunch of stuff you can do in terms of personality. This is, again, really, really incredible ability to tune this up, including things like using common sayings that I have. I I love my catchphrases, and as a coach, these are things that come back over and over and again, because in the type of coaching work that I've done, these are the patterns that I see, right? Like this really captures those patterns. So many people are really tied into this idea of doing estimates, for example, or predicting the future. And so I love to share these, and my avatar does too. Anyway, this is a really powerful part of the avatars, that you can even use pseudo XML to create really structured guidance for it, if you like that sort of thing. Anyway, then we also have these licensed foundations, and these are experts that we've gone out and licensed content from. Yes, I'm there too, but David J. Anderson, the author of Kanban, Mary Poppendieck, who's like an ultra guru in lean software development, some folks that you might not have heard of, but various. We're actually just starting to now look for open source content that's really relevant to coaching and business, and loading that up. And for every single thing here, you can say, well, in my avatar, like, no one's going to be using it to talk about techie stuff, so I'm just going to turn that off, and it's never going to bring it up, right? So you actually have visibility and control into the topics that an avatar will bring up. It's really, really a powerful way of organizing the way the system works. So I'm, again, demonstrating the actual chat function is not really that exciting, because everyone's seeing these chat things now. But when someone is interacting with the Mission Fatigue AI coach, I trust it because it is so hyper fine-tuned to not just what I do, but also my clients. So that's incredibly powerful, and I really strongly encourage you, if you're not already on the platform, to consider looking at it. That's the sales pitch there. You can talk to me another time if you're interested. But if you have, the expertise, or you have the interest, or for that matter, you have the resources inside your organization, this is also something that you can build, right? The OpenAI organization publishes, all the necessary stuff you need to know in order to build your own customized platform. It is a bit of an investment, but it's absolutely 100% possible. We have some secret sauce, but honestly, not much. Mostly, it's just about how you organize the information that you give to ChatGPT or these other tools to make it so that it gives good results. So one of the things that you don't see, for example, in the user interface when you're using ChatGPT, but you do see when you can program to its APIs, is that it has something called a system prompt. So normally you just give it a prompt, right? But the system prompt gives it special instructions and allows it to be controlled with a lot stronger guidance than, say, your user just asking a random question. So there's a whole bunch of things like that around how the platform can be used, and we've incorporated all of that into the Max Good platform, of course. Okay, how are we doing for time? So just a few minutes left. I want to just share a couple other quick things. So first of all, if you're interested, that QR code does take you to the avatar sign-up sheet for Max Good. Why is my... Okay, there we go. Okay. I'm happy to do an avatar setup walkthrough with anyone who's interested, but it's basically you subscribe to it, you configure it with the personality, the contents, turning contents off, etc. And then you can invite clients through the user interface and maintain it. It's really simple and straightforward. It's not quite as simple as a custom GPT, but that's because it's more sophisticated, basically. And I'm happy to take any questions at this point. I think, just again for reference, we will provide access to the recording. And if anyone's interested, I'm happy to also do trial avatar accounts for people. It's something that's pretty easy to set up, and we just launched 1.0, so we're really in a mode of let's see what we can do to help people use these tools. I'm also happy to share a lot of stuff around prompts that I use with ChatGPT. There's a few in the Thinking Time document that I shared, but I've got quite a collection, so I will make sure to send those out as well. There's a whole bunch for coaching, for management, for Scrum Masters, blah blah blah, all sorts of stuff like that. Anyway, I'm done. Any questions? Happy to take questions, or if you need to sign off, that's great too. By the way, I haven't checked the Zoom chat, but yes, okay. No questions? Oh, Derek?
Yeah, I just had I was just curious. You said that in the very beginning that you started to kind of offer AI as you started to sort of promote it as an offering as part of like the coaching and your consulting. So, what were some of your successes in incorporating that into some of your proposals? And did you get any feedback in terms of like why people were drawn um,
Yeah.
to the idea of sort of incorporating that into your coaching?
Yeah, so the fundamental premise in all the proposals, and by the way, I really want to be transparent about this. I also lost some proposals too, right? So it's not like it was 100% hit rate, but the proposals where I included an AI component and that were competitive and that I won, those proposals, I asked every single decision maker in those cases what was the differentiating factor, and that was the differentiating factor, including an AI component. So there was usually two parts to that. One is actually just showing people how to use AI to solve the problems related to whatever the coaching consulting was, right? So that was a service component on my side. And then the second part was incorporating Max Good as a platform that they would have access to. So after the fact, they could ask me, quote unquote, questions or get coaching from me without essentially having to pay, like an hourly rate. They still pay for it. It still is a line item in the proposal, but compared to a regular coaching or training rate, it's a lot lower. So that was something where they said, you know what, that's worth it because we don't have budget for a full-time coach, for example. We don't have budget for anything but this sort of limited scope to the engagement, but we know there's always more. So that's kind of how it was positioned. And over the last 10 months, of course, the actual specific words and stuff have been particular to the engagement. But the other side of that coin is that I always use my own avatar now when I'm writing proposals.
Mm.
So, you know, that includes taking transcripts from Zoom conversations, my own thoughts, and notes, and you know, whatever emails people have written me about a particular opportunity, and then just basically putting that all in and saying, hey, I need to write a proposal, help me write that proposal.
Mm.
And so in my own avatar, I've also, you know, here's some things that are like successful proposals. Here's some things that are how I like to do sales and, you know, get gigs, and the boundaries that I put around them and so forth. And so it's really actually a very powerful way of leveraging these tools, because if I write it from scratch, oh my God, it's slow, 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 slow. Yeah. Long answer, but there you go. That's, yeah.
Awesome. Thank you.
All right. Anything else? Any other questions, thoughts, or comments? Oh, I forgot. I need to give you the document with the coach stuff. Hold on. I know where that is. Give me a second. There we go. That will be in the Zoom chat. So there's the document about coaching industry trends in the Zoom chat. Lots of really interesting insight. I think the links have been checked for the references so that you can check the references as well. Really a lot of interesting stuff in there. Okay, well, in that case, I think it's time for us to wrap up. And thank you for being here. I'm also happy to connect on LinkedIn, hear feedback, whatever the case may be. This is my first time doing this webinar, and I didn't get all the timing right, and I, you know, got distracted. But so feedback would be really welcome if you have any later on. But I think it's time for us to stop.